All right, welcome to the May 2018 Century 21 Everest Summit. How are you feeling? Okay, apparently not very. This section feels really good. That section over here still has food in their mouth, apparently, Cody. How are you doing? You've got to be doing well because you brought your beautiful wife here. Martha, welcome. It's good to see you. Yeah, especially in those high heels walking around like you will. It's very cool. Oh, no, there's a story to that, so it's good to see you. Yeah, and those of you who are standing, please take your seats. We're just getting ready to get into the time management section of this whole thing. That apparently didn't work. We're going to work on another one. They're playing over where that one came from, if you're worried. All right, so let's do this. First of all, let's welcome the corporate partners. We've got American Home Shield, Josh Kwai. If you're in the room, please stand up. Slim Shady, please stand up. And neither one of them. Oh, you're not Josh Kwai. Oh, it's not. You're not Josh. All right, and then we've got Citywide. If you are with Citywide, please stand up. That includes the Honorable Jen Morris. She's standing up. Cool. If you're with Citywide, please stand up. There were others, well, there you are back there. Great. So give them a round of applause. We appreciate their affiliation, and in fact, we appreciate their support because your food today would not be possible without their generous support. So if we could, Rick Lynn, where are you? Rick has a few friends, but he's looking to gain a couple more today, apparently. He's got a drawing. So that's his motivation, he said, friendship. So how did we collect these cards? What's this all about?
How did we collect them?
Yeah, I mean...
We asked for them.
Okay. Who did not put their card in this basket?
Probably quite a few.
Well, that's not cool. Would you like your... Well, you can't. The Citywide folk over there raise their hands. Is there anybody with Century 21 who did not put their card in the basket, would like their card in the basket?
Okay.
Would you just run over there very quickly?
Yep.
And while we do that, George is going to sing a few bars of, I don't know, Superstition? Stevie Wonder? Probably not so much.
Singing a bar.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's going to work.
Think of me.
Think of me?
Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, right. Phantom of the Opera, right? Cool. All right. So Rick has a couple of gift cards, I think, for gas. $25 cards, is that right, Rick? Okay, cool. All right, anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Okay, Rick. Let's get this thing started. So, do you have a message you want to share?
Message?
Yeah, anything you want to say?
We're just excited to be here, excited to be your partner. Thanks for all the support. We really appreciate it. So, we just want to give just a small token of our appreciation. That's what the gift cards are. So
cool. And I gave Rick actually a hard time, but I've known you for nearly 20 years. I think it's 18 years. So, a great addition to the Citywide team. So,
thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Jen, do you want to pull these? John,
how do you do it?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right.
We're going to have two.
Two. Okay. And I put 10 of my own cards in here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah. If I had glasses, I could read that. I have long arms. Okay, Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith.
All right, cool. We'll get it to you, Kevin. We'll get it to you. Or you can come up. I don't know. All right. I'm not going to draw Kevin's again. And let's see. Eric Jones. $25 gift card from Maverick. Very cool. Okay, give him a round of applause, Citywide. Not only do they buy your food for lunch, but they also give you gas. All right. That was improv there. I mean, come on, give a better credit than that. Holy cow. All right, Mr. Rob Oakey has an announcement for the Everest Foundation. Rob, you ready to do this?
Yes, keep your day job.
Keep my day job. This is my day job.
Okay, I guess I'm going to go.
There's a hand mic right there.
All right, perfect. So I just wanted to give some
Turn it on.
updates. Did I need to turn it on? Turn it on.
Keep your day job.
Keep my day job? Just make you saying that.
He's from the peanut gallery and everything.
All right, just some updates that we have from the Everest Foundation. We're excited on a couple of things that not only been able to get up and running, but we're also excited to be able to recognize a few individuals for their contributions. So a couple of key things that, as you may remember, we had brought up a couple of different items that you can receive depending on the amount of money that you donate. we have certain levels that you're receiving certain benefits. And we're excited to know that we've got a few people that have already hit a couple of those first levels. So we've got in our first level that we have with a contribution of $250 or more. Doug Carey, and actually these people, if they're here, please come up. Doug Carey, Brenda Lee Jones, John Hunter, and then SCB Legal. Woo! So thank you very much. There might just be two of them right now, so great. And then we also have them at the same time. The next level we had Mike Stengel with a contribution of $500 or more is also here as well. So please come up. You're thinking, what does this mean? So not only that there are a list of items that are over on the side that they're receiving. So first off, we've got this incredible pin that shows that you are part of the foundation, you're contributing. So appreciate that.
Very cool.
Thank you. Got your pin. Congratulations. Mike, get your pin. Thank you. Then on top of it, we got a certificate. But the key thing about this thing, we've created a website that is available. It's everestcommunityfoundation.org, and it shows what we're doing. It shows the contributions that are being made. Hold on a second. Shows the contributions being made. The next level, and also it gives you the ability in this to put in your own marketing that you are one of the contributors. So these guys are going to be able to do that in addition to the certificate that they've received. Here you go. Do more of your day, John. All right, perfect. So we got John Hunter, who's not here. Way to go, John. Those Johns out there. Doug, little certificate for you. Hang that proudly. We're excited about that. SCB Legal, not here. And then Brenda Lee. And Mike. Mike, here you go. So Mike's also been able to go to the next level. He not only has his name on the website, but he's also got his photo. And as the levels increase, so does the reward. So I hope you guys know, people come to us daily asking for ways that we can contribute, and the only way this works is through you. So this is a small way that we can say thank you back and hopefully give you the opportunity to market yourself. But more importantly, this only works through your efforts. So we're grateful, we're thankful, and congratulations. Cool.
Say a quick word about the foundation. It's a great organization that we were a part of, being a part of Century 21 Everest, but the organization gives back. It's a way for us as real estate agents to give back to the people that we serve. I know a lot of you donate your time and your energy in your communities, but the organization and the foundation is a fantastic opportunity to do that. I encourage all of you to, maybe even just if you have a closing, just say, hey, we can give a little bit more on top of that. If those of you that work with TCs, you understand the benefits you get from using a TC, which I use. But I would encourage you all to reach out to Rob and talk to them about contributing on top of that. Just a little bit more makes a difference. It goes a long way.
Mike's actually being very humble. He's right now, he is committed to donating $100 in every transaction that he closes. And last year, he closed 51 transactions. So his goal is to donate $5,000 this year. So that's a heck of a contribution for Mike, and we love. Anything helps. So appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Cool. That's great. Thanks, Rob. Okay. Yeah, we do appreciate everybody who's doing that. Horace Mann said we should all be ashamed to live this life and lead it without contributing something significant to humanity. And one of the ways for us to do that is through the foundation. So awesome job, everybody. Even those who haven't been recognized today, because I know a lot of you in the room have contributed in the past and continue to do that. So let's take a look at some of the save the date events. Look at your calendars. You're going to be receiving, if you haven't already received, email or text notices for these events. But if you can, take out your phones and put these events in your calendar so you don't forget them. Experience the power of ZAP. There will be a ZAP squad training, and it looks like Tuesday, May 15th, Wednesday the 16th, and Thursday, May 17th. The group that is teaching this is actually coming from Century 21 Corporate, so they understand the system, the program, and it'll be a great event to attend, particularly if you're interested in managing your leads and also effectively closing more business. So cool. Zach, the next one. Mike Ferry's Real Estate Sales Workshop. It's on May 22nd through the 25th. It'll be in the Salt Lake City Marriott downtown. A great event. How many have not attended one of Mike's local events? Raise your hands high if you haven't. Okay. Is there a cost for this event? $99. Okay. So, well worth attending. A great event. Base camp. Let's see. We've got, Kelly Craig. Kelly is actually our expert on social media. The company has hired her. We've been working with her for a couple of years now. She is exceptional at this. If you are wanting to do more in terms of social media advertising, trying to generate more leads, or just gaining credibility in the marketplace through what you do on social media, Kelly is a great source for that. Her company is Social Stamina. That is on Wednesday, May 30th at the main office. And it'll be just in the training center on the 6th floor. Is that correct? Okay, cool. All right. Base camp. Oh, look at this. How exciting. Danette Grant. So Danette is going to be offering a training on DISC and understanding, one, your personality style, but then also the personality styles of others. One of the most important things is our ability to be versatile in the business of real estate, and she is exceptional at this. She's done it for the corporate leadership team, and she'll give you the opportunity, if you haven't done this, to take a quick test on your personality style and learn more about that. June 6th, the corporate office, a quick hour, 11:30 to 12:30. All right, looks like St. Nick Bailey is coming to town. Oh boy. Try that one again. Nick Bailey is coming to town. He is thank you. He is the president and CEO of Century 21. Has been in that position now coming up on about a year. Not quite that. He'll be here on Monday, June 11th. There will be a meet and greet. He'll talk broadly about the marketplace and specifically about Century 21. That'll be at the main office at Union Park. So please RSVP because room is limited there, and I would imagine that we're going to have a lot of people from the various offices, so space will be limited. Cool. And then we've got the man himself, Mike Ferry, who is coming on Thursday, June 14th. That will be our summit for the month. So come for that. It'll be a great time. It's really the warm-up to the Superstar Retreat, which occurs in July. This event will be on June 14th at this site right here in this room. So put that in your calendar. That is the summit for June. And next. Oh, yeah. So every year we do the Everest Community Foundation Golf Classic. How many of you have attended or participated in that in one form or fashion? Raise your hands up high. So about half of you. Would really encourage you to get involved in this. I'm assuming at this point we still have foursomes that are available. Is that correct?
It's gone very quickly. We had texts that were sent out, I think, a month or a week and a half ago.
So we're done?
There might be a few spots, but it's whoever gets their money in first.
First come, first served.
If you're asking,
we do have limited space. So if one, if you like to golf, and if number two, you like to golf and actually help the foundation because the money goes towards a good cause, be there. Also, there are prizes for those who place. And it's a great event. It's now, is this our fourth annual? Fifth? Okay, fifth annual. It's at the Eaglewood Golf Course at the top of the mountain there in Bountiful. Great event. It's on Tuesday, June 26th at 7 a.m. We start early. All right, Cowabunga Bay Summer Bash. This is awesome. How many went to this last year? Do you remember how many people were there? I asked Annette this morning. I said, how many do we have there? 1,000, 1,200? She said, no. The final count was over 1,500 people. Wow. This is a great event. It's because it's not just about you as agents, but you got to bring your spouses, your children, grandchildren, and friends. So all are welcome. It's a fun event that lasts for several hours. There are games, face painting, and just the slides and great food. So July 10th, 5 p.m. to 8:30, and it's at Cowabunga Bay. They're just off of State Street in Draper. Cool. And next. Okay, cool. We've got some new agents that I want to announce here. If you are in the room, don't want to have you come up to the front of the room, but I do want you to stand up. So if you're in the room, stand up. And give me the slide because I don't have my readers on. I'm not going to see this. So we've got Kevin Smith. Shayna Stanton, Kathleen Christian, Ginger Trask, Jessica Coronado, Whitney Garner. If you're in the room, stand up. Elizabeth Covington, James Kalui, Callie, is it James Callie? Callie, all right. Christian Kenworthy, Amy Amy. Help me with that, Amy. Amy? Okay, we'll just pick it up. And it's Amy Paulatina. Heather Carlson, Patricia Fong Sanchez, Nikolai Borba, Brianna Burnett, Catherine Carroll, Christopher Christensen, Wendy Fullwood, Todd Allison, Jessica Turner, Stacy Stewart, Lalani Costell, Hillary Wade, Cameron Lewick, Jeff Staples, Jeff Weaver, Matt Clark, Jason Davis, Tia Bruns, Demi Lucero, Peggy Stratz, and Deseret Baker. Welcome aboard. All right, I had the pleasure of meeting these two just a few minutes ago. We've got two new staff members. We've got Casey Clark, she's an accounting analyst, and then also Mustafa Faisal. Is it Mustafa? Pronounce that for me. No, the last name. Faisal. I did pronounce that correctly. And he is, again, in accounting, he's the accounting manager. So please give them a round of applause and welcome. All right, so we need Russ and George to come up. We've got a special plaque to give. We've got the Peak Agent Training graduate, Galen Wagstaff. In fact, I've got for you, Galen, a great plaque here. Russ, you need to present this to her, it looks like. We can get a picture. So, Galen. Oh, well, there you go. Well, then why didn't you say that?
Well, I just found out.
Okay. Well,
This is the lady.
So Galen, who are you, other than being Galen?
Chad Wagstaff's mom.
Well, in my mind, that makes Chad a little bit cooler. Yeah.
Be sure you tell him that.
I will. All right, let's get your photo here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Cool. Off to that.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
All right. We've got some more awards to give here. So, the Jim Moore Road Award, Employee of the Quarter. We're doing these awards on a quarterly basis now, not on a monthly. Did somebody say no? I guess we could change it to monthly, but again, I don't know. So, this young lady here, I've gotten to know really well over the last several months because she has saved the day more than once for me, and I know for George. She works as our executive personal assistant. Stephanie Cross, if you could come up, that would be great. This award is about, in fact, let me read this to you. Success is not to be pursued, it's to be attracted by the person you become. Yeah, Rob, come on up. This award is really about those who go beyond just what they're asked to do and take an extra effort. And I can tell you my experience has always been that with you. So thank you very much for your contribution what you did, Stephanie. Thank you. This is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Of course, do that. All right. The next award, the Sir Edmund Hillary Award. So, boy, this lady here, what a fun woman. A mom, a great real estate professional, great example, demonstrating, what's that, a dancer? He said a dancer, I don't know about that. Aaron, you can tell us about that. And also now a member of the leadership team. She's helping us in doing some managing as well as recruiting. So Aaron Mailer, if you're in the room, please come on up. You need a bowl? You need a bowl?
Because they wouldn't make sure I was coming. Nobody made sure I was coming.
You're always here.
I know, right?
You're always here. It's been fun to watch how she has dealt with challenges, we all have, but to watch that she has dealt with challenge and her personal growth and to come through that to the point where she's actually even not only taking on the responsibilities of mom, being a great producer within the company, but then taking on some responsibilities with leadership. So, Aaron, you deserve that. Thank you. You bet. All right, Rising Star Award for 2018. So, this award is given to a man who has demonstrated exceptional growth in his business and potential in terms of what he's able to do. And I think it has to do with the fact that he's got a great example in the business. So if Eric Brown could come up and receive this award, that would be great. Howard, congratulations. Is Lance Ebersol in the room? He's out of town. Okay. He's on vacation. So we're going to save this because it's well worth announcing and giving him while he's in town. So, all right. And award next. What do we have? The final one. The Ironman Award. Cool. All right. So this one's fun because this person here brings the life to the party here. The music that has been brought to the summit. And could you feel the energy difference when the music's in the room, right? And the inclination to dance, maybe if there's a pole in the room, Aaron. I don't know. I think that's why she was reluctant because she didn't have the pole. No, the music is brought to relax, Jason. This is not a family show. Everybody's 18 or older. Some of you look like maybe it's questionable, but this young lady here, where? Oh, there she is. I thought she had the music there. Linda, come on up. Yeah, she's got her turnstiles back here. I have to pay attention who's over there.
That's funny.
Yeah, so come over here, let's get in the center. So I have to tell you that she volunteered to do this. We did not ask her. She said there needs to be more life in the summits, and we said, well, what do you suggest? What do you suggest? And she said music. So if you like the music, it's her responsibility. If you don't like it, it's his. So, there you go. Congratulations.
Thank you for everything.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Congratulations.
And of course, I know who that is, Kylie. She does all of our slides for us. I panicked her this morning. I said, so did you get all my slides, my videos, and the pictures that I wanted for my presentation? And she just turned this shade of white like Rob's face. Really white. And she said, no, I didn't. I said, that's okay because I don't really have any. So it's all good. All right. So first quarter awards. We got a lot to talk about here. So let's get through these. We've got GCI over 25,000. And are we having everybody stand up when they're announced, right?
Yes.
Okay. Please stand up when your name is announced. Wanda Allison. Ray Boren. Mindy, and if you would, hold the applause until the end. Mindy Gallant, or applause at your will. He didn't listen when he was a kid, and he's not going to listen now. Amy Lasker Haynes, Mike Watts, Phil Harvey, Victor Martinez, Jeffrey Hansen, otherwise known as Jeff Hansen, Jason West, Justin Crane, Kyler Story, Keith Munden, Mark Apuna, Amy Wilson, Elvin Struzinski, Sean McLeod, Jeff Laguerre, Maureen Levinson, Will Walk, and Tuan No. Jonathan Young, Casey Montano, Ken Averett, Trent Rogers, Dan Blake, Curtis Perry, Michael Higgins, Lamari Nunez Molinari, David Hancock, Aaron Pearson, Trent Hyde, Tyson Craig, Alan Bernstein, Joe Allen, Ruby Reese, Richard Brown, Rebecca C., Joanna Williams, and Ryan McKinnon. Corey Wahlberg, Jennifer Merrill, Brandon McBride, Rayleigh, I know, and Horner. This is very cool. Heather Pappas. Rayleigh Hendricks, Heather Pappas, Tina Wright, Sawyer Carpenter, Leah Marks, Carlin Bedwell, Bruce Burnett, Steve Henriot, Sherry Robinson, Alan Larson, Linda Martinez, Scott Siebel, Brent Colvin, Dan Munch, Mike Connell, Jimmy Gibbs, Stephen Evans, and Robert Davis. All right, give them a round of applause. Income over 50,000 in that quarter, the first quarter. Sherry Peck, Chad Wagstaff, Heidi Chastain, Alan Kantarabin, Samantha Pexton. Yes, there's a fan in the room. Way to go, Alan. Lance Gummersall. It's okay, you can applaud yourself. It's fine. Lance Gummersall, Cody Emery, Kurt Matz, Robert Oakey. Robert, do you want to applaud? Rich Castleberry, Deanna Haskett, Tyler Durham, Evan Child, Tammy Jones, Ryan Larson, Lisa Street, Nikki Nunez, Matt Johnson, Kelly Nieves, Jeremy Fitzgerald, Jennifer Terry. Congratulations. I didn't think I'd have to say it, but the rule does apply. If I mention your name in all of these categories, you should stand up. I noticed some of you didn't, even though my back was turned to you. I have to do this because if I try to read it on the sheet, I can't see it. So GCI was $75,000. Wow. Brennan Castleton, Amy Clark, Giselle Secretive, Aaron Christensen, Chase Watts, Mike Harris, Tyler Higgins, Jeremy Back, and Mike Stengel. Give them a round of applause. All right, gross commission income over $100,000. If you don't know what that means, it means they made a lot of money. John Hunter, Brian Noel, Brett Belknap, David Parker, Doug Carey, Aaron Oldham, Brenda Lee Jones, Aaron Richardson, Leslie Sorthorpe, and Shane Sauls. Please stand up. Congratulations. All right, gross commission incomes over $150,000. Number 1, Brian Burnett. Number 2, Lou Tran. Number 3, Jessica Terry. 4, Austin Kells. Number 5, Josh Johnson. And number 6, Cody Watts. Give him a round of applause. Good job. Okay, wow. Reading his own category again. This one's really easy. Mr. Justin Udy, please stand up. Thank you, Justin. That's quite a number. Very good. Top listing agents in order. We have Brian Burnett at 30, Jeremy Back at 23, Mike Stengel at 22, John Hunter at 18, Jessica Terran at 18, Justin Udy at 13.5, Josh Johnson 11, Cody Watts at 11, Kelly Nieves at 11, and Lindsay Tripp at 10. Give them a round of applause. All right, top unit sold in order. Brian Burnett at 26, Justin Udy at 22.1. I love that. It's at 13 and a half. It actually sold 22.1. We want to learn how to do that. Very cool. Austin Kells, 20.6. Lou Tran at 18.95. Josh Johnson, 18.2. You can see we've got new people in accounting because they're getting down to very precise numbers. We've got a lot of human resources there. David Parker, 16.4. Jessica Terry, 15.8. John Hunter, 15.17. Samantha Pexton, 14.6. And Cody Watts at 14.5. Give him a round of applause. Top volume closed. We have Justin Udy, Josh Johnson, Brian Burnett, Jessica Terry, Austin Kell, John Hunter, Cody Watts, Brian Noel, Doug Carey, and Lou Tran. Give them a round of applause. All right, top commissions earned. Getting down to the money part of this thing. Number 1, Justin Udy. So if you need a loan, you know where to go. Number 2, Brian Burnett. Number 3, Lou Tran. Number 4, Jessica Terry. 5, Austin Kells. Number 6, Josh Johnson. Number 7, Cody Watts. Number 8, John Hunter. Number 9, Brian Noel. And number 10, Brett Belknap. Give them a round of applause. All right, and the top teams by GCI, gross commission income. The top team in that category, number 1, if you're in the room, there we are, elite team, please stand up. Please stand up, Dave Parker, please. Number 2, Josh Johnson and team, stand up. Number 3, View Utah Listings, Nikki and team, stand up. Justin Udy and team, stand up. And then number 5, Brewer Real Estate, Tyler Girl and team. Give them a round of applause. Well, I guess that's next. If you want to figure out, she's going to like, you don't understand, so there's panic there. I get it, I'm fine, I'm good. I was just, anybody wondering how you get on those previous lists? Any question there? Come on, Rick, tell them, how do you do it?
Production.
Sell more real estate. Yeah, so give everybody a round of applause for doing that. All right, we've got some exciting things to happen here. I've got a message I'm going to share with you here very quickly. And then George is going to moderate a panel of some top producers that have been kind enough to donate their time to spend with you to help you in increasing your production. I was talking to one of them, and I said, don't worry, because the good news is you have all the answers to the questions, because they're all about how you are succeeding in this business. And that's what we're going to find out today. And then after that, George will share some closing comments with us, and we'll finish it up. So let me ask you a pretty simple, I think a question that has an obvious answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What is the number one challenge that we have in today's marketplace? Think about today's marketplace. What's the number one challenge that you're facing? Okay, so Stephanie, you said listings. Steph, you said listings. I heard something back here. Say it loudly so everybody can hear. Okay, the smart kids are over here apparently, because this group over here is listening to what you're saying. Pearson, what's the number one challenge in today's inventory? Would you all agree it's inventory? Yes. Okay, so repeat after me. And if you've heard this before, do not spoil it. Just listen. Thanks, John. That's not what I said. John was a kid who at the end of the day was always in detention. Thank you, John. No, you can't say anything. You'll ruin my presentation and you'll have to get up and give it. Okay, thank you. So, repeat after me. Silk.
Silk.
Let's try that again. It's really simple. It's not a trick question. Repeat after me. Silk.
Silk.
S-I-L-K.
S-I-L-K.
Silk.
Silk.
S-I-L-K.
S-I-L-K.
What do cows drink?
Water.
No, they don't. They drink water, Danette. They drink water. I know. She's like 3 shades of red right now, which is awesome. Okay. Repeat after me, if you would. Folk. F-O-L-K.
F-O-L-K.
Say it again.
Folk.
F-O-L-K. Say the word one more time.
Folk. F-O-L-K.
Cool. What do we call the white of an egg? No, we don't. We call it egg whites. But thank you. Yeah, I know. These are easy answers, too. Wait till we get to the tough part of the quiz. Yeah. So, let's try this one. Mop. Hop.
Hop.
Mop.
Mop.
Hop. Top. What do we do to a green light? Stove. Yeah. I think it's the first time that all of you have pronounced go with an S. Stove. Yeah. How about this? I want you to look throughout the room, okay, and I want you to find brown. Look for brown. Look for brown. Find everything that is brown. Try to remember as many things that are brown in the room. Look for brown. I'll give you 10 more seconds. Find brown. Look for brown. Brown, 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 brown. You see the brown. Get at least 3 items and remember them. Find brown. Okay, now what I want you to do is now close your eyes. Keep them closed. Keep them closed. Don't cheat. Name one thing in the room that is red besides Danette's face. Can you name one thing in the room that is red? No, you can't. Why? Because you weren't what? You weren't looking for it. You weren't focused on it.
Napkins.
Yes, napkins. Okay. Did you realize that during, before, or after? Okay, good. Exactly my point. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to write this down. We get what we focus on. We get what we focus on. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
If you're in the room and somewhat alive, say aye. Okay. We get what we focus on. So there was a man who was driving home late one night, and he got pulled over by a cop. The cop pulled him over on suspicion of driving while under the influence. So the cop decided to give him a sobriety test. The cop had him get out of his car, and he said, "Sir, what I would like you to do is to put both of your hands above your head." The guy said, "I can't do that." He said, "Why not?" He said, "Because I have an old soccer injury." He said, "Okay, well, how about if we just have you stand there just legs, feet, shoulder width, and just turn your head side to side. He said, well, I can't do that. An old football injury. He said, okay, well, how about we do this? How about you just stand there and you bend over and touch your toes? The guy said, I can't even do that. He said, why? He said, well, because I have an old weightlifting injury. I've got a lower back issue. I can't do that. He said, okay. He said, well, how about you just do this? Just stand there and just raise one leg up so you're standing on just one foot. He said, I can't even do that. He said, why? He said, because I'm drunk. After he found out he was drunk, he said, sir, you got two choices. You can either take 90 days in jail or $1,000. He said, oh, I'll take the $1,000. I'm short on cash. Some of you will get that later. All right. So my point is what? I want you to write down this phrase, presence of mind. Presence of mind. What does that mean? Have you heard that phrase before? Presence of mind. He has a presence of mind. He has the presence of mind. Or it's important to have presence of mind. Do you really know what that means? I've heard it before, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to look it up to really understand what it means. Have you heard it before? If you have, say I.
Aye.
Okay. What does it mean? Any answers?
Be in the moment.
Okay, so Rick, you say be in the moment. Okay, good answer. Anybody else want to volunteer an answer? What does it mean to be presence of mind? Well, if you look it up in the dictionary, in fact, somebody just quickly look it up. Presence of mind. You got a phone? Look it up very quickly. Somebody? Who's looking it up? Anyone? Okay. What do you find?
The ability to remain calm and take quick, sensible action.
So the ability to remain calm and take quick, sensible action. Okay. Would you agree with that? Does that make sense? Yes? Hello? Bueller? Anyone? Okay. So that's what I wrote. That's what I've written. In Emory County, we wrote it down, but here we'll write it down. I put down calm and focus because that's what the definition reads in the dictionary. So I want you to think about this. First, well, EMTs, cops, firemen. We call those what? First what?
Responders.
First responders, right? We don't call them first reactors, right? We call them first what?
Responders.
Why do we call them first responders and not first reactors? What makes them different? Why do we call them, Kevin, responders as opposed to reactors? Okay, problem solving. They do that, but is that really why we call them first responders?
Because they're trained, they know what to do.
Then say it loudly. Say it loudly so they can all hear.
They're trained and they know what to do. So they
Okay, that was her loudest. Let me say it for her. They're trained to do it that way. They're just trained. And I heard somebody else say that over there. But isn't that true? They're trained to respond. In fact, think about that. Whether it's a fireman, whether it's an EMT or a cop, if they have to think about what they are doing, is the situation going to go well? As opposed to them doing it out of what? Muscle what? Memory. Don't they do that with soldiers in basic training? How many of you have been through basic training before? Raise your hand if you, okay. What's your name back there? Zach, did they train you to do certain things over and over and over again? Yes. Why did they do that? Muscle memory. So that in the instance that bullets are flying or bombs are going off, you don't have to think to react. You just simply what? You respond. You respond based upon your what? Say it. Somebody said it over here. Based upon your training. Right, Zach? Okay. So this is what I want you to think about. Okay. Ask yourself this question. What's the biggest challenge in today's marketplace? I asked you that question in the beginning, and the typical answer was what? It's low inventory. That's what the answer was, right? I'm here to suggest to you today that it's not. You all demonstrated that, in fact, it is not. Do you know what it is without me telling you? What? Say it. Mindset, but more specifically what?
Lack of focus.
Somebody said it back there. Say it out loud.
Lack of focus.
Okay, it was back here. You're really good. It's like a ventriloquist. It's lack of focus, or more specifically, focusing on the wrong thing, right? Say yes.
Yes.
How many of you would admit or say that you do at times focus on the wrong thing? All right? Men and women have a lot of thoughts. Over 60,000 thoughts, they say, on a daily basis, or number of thoughts that we have. The truth is that men have about 3, sleep, food, and sex. But, and you know what, actually, it's not in that order, but we won't have a conversation, right? But we have a tendency to focus on the same thing over and over again. And the majority of our thoughts are negative. They tend to be. But let's say that they're not. You said, isn't low inventory really isn't an issue in the marketplace? Say yes. It is. That's not my point. But is low inventory really the issue if we're focused on the right things? Are there agents, remember the slides up here, the announcement, are there agents who are earning a lot of money in today's marketplace, selling a lot of homes on a monthly basis, even with low inventory? Yes. Why is that? Because instead of focusing on low inventory, they focus on the what? The solutions to the problem or the challenge. Does that make sense? Yes. So I wrote down 3 things here. It's a very short message. It's very quick. It's very clear. I took you through those exercises because I wanted to demonstrate how it's so easy for us to focus on the wrong thing, and so then therefore to behave in a way that's inconsistent with what we logically know we should be doing or the outcomes that we want. Silk, milk, cows, folk, yolk, egg whites, brown, red. We have a tendency by habit to focus on the wrong things. So I wrote down these 3 things. 3 steps to create greater presence of mind. Because if we want to be a first responder and not a first reactor, in other words, to have calm, and the other word to have focus, to act sensibly, not focused on the wrong things, but doing the right things, we have to understand what the steps would be. I wrote down 3 very simple things. The first one is this: be aware. Be aware. Are you aware about what you think about? And what I would challenge you to say and admit is that you aren't. Those exercises prove that. I took you through some very simple exercises, and you thought you were paying attention, and you thought the answer that you gave in most cases was right, and it wasn't. So number 1, be aware. Be aware of what you are focusing on. That's what I wrote down here. Be aware of what you are focusing on. The second thing that I wrote down is this: be willing to admit your challenges. Be willing to admit your challenges. Is it true that we will have thoughts that are counterproductive or negative? Okay? So be willing to admit that you do have thoughts that are counterproductive or that create challenges. Be willing to admit to your challenges. Joanna, this particular one here sucks. Do you know why? Why? Because it requires that you take personal responsibility, that you take ownership. So you don't have to take ownership that the inventory. Some of you are looking at me like, you look like your grandma. That's what I'm asking. I kind of like this. It makes me feel professorial. Right? But we have to admit, right? Low inventory isn't your fault. No. But is it your fault that you don't have enough inventory in your business? It's a different thing. Inventories are low. Yet Justin Udy demonstrated that just because the inventory is low doesn't mean you can't, close on 22.5 listings in a month, because you can. So apparently they're not that low. How many of you would like even just 5 listings a month? Okay, 2. I didn't think you said takers. You'd like it, right? Well, we know that at least it's possible to do 22.5. Is it possible to do more? Say yes. See, number 1, we have to be aware of what we're focusing on. And number 2, be willing to admit that that's what we're focused on. You all admitted in most cases that the number 1 challenge in today's marketplace is inventory, and I'm here to tell you that that's not true. Your number 1 challenge is what you focus on, what's going on in your mind. That's your number 1 challenge. So if you shift your focus from all of those external things, and therefore then start to make it internal, so you are aware of what you're thinking about, that's where you begin to take what? Responsibility, control, and then get to take the right action. Who would like to take the right action? Okay, change what you focus on. And the third thing that I wrote down is this: Be consistent. Be consistent at refocusing to get the right outcome. This one sucks as well. Ask me why.
Why?
Rick asked me why. Ask me why.
Why?
Because it requires hard work. It is difficult to change a habit, would you agree?
Yes.
How many have tried to change a habit before? Right? How many of you decided maybe at the beginning of the year to lose some weight or maybe to get on an exercise regimen? Raise your hand if you did that. You don't need to raise your hand if you're not doing it anymore, but how many of you are not doing it? Right? Is it difficult to change habits? It is, isn't it? Habits are difficult to change, and so therefore point number 3 is very important. Be consistent at refocusing to get the right outcome. It's difficult because it's hard work to remind yourself and to stay focused on, I need to change my behavior. I need to change what I'm focused on. You've all heard the equation. Our thoughts lead to our emotions lead to our actions, and our actions lead to our results, right? How many of you like math? Okay, so there are a few of you who are really weird. You like math. I don't like math. I still don't like it, John. Just show me the money. I don't need the math. Right? What if your math professor changed an equation? He showed you the equation, and the next day you showed up, and the next day it was a different equation. He changed something on you. Would you be irritated? Those of you who like math, would you be irritated?
Yes.
One of the great things about math is that it's what? Predictable and it's consistent, right? But those of us who don't like math, if the professor or the teacher changed the equation every day, would it piss you off?
Yes.
More than you already are? Right? Do you even use calculus today in your business? No. Right? But this is what I wrote down, and this is my final point. Every day in my life is made better because of what I decide to do. Based on what I decide to focus on. I mention this again, this equation of our thoughts lead to our emotions to our actions to our results. How many of you have not heard that before? So a few of you. Our thoughts lead to our emotions lead to our actions to our results. New to just a couple of you. The rest of you have heard it before. And yet, consistently, we will, and I'm part of this, I'm just as guilty, that we will have a tendency to focus on the wrong things, therefore entertain the wrong emotions, therefore take the wrong actions, and therefore get the wrong what? Outcomes. Do you want to be, if you were not on the list in one of those categories, do you want to be up there on that list or one of those lists? Say yes.
Yes.
Then work on this, presence of mind. Being clear about what you're focused on. Being willing to, number 1, what did we say? Be aware. Be aware of what you focus on. Number 2, be willing to admit your challenges. Number 3, be consistent at refocusing. Because that's all it is. That's all it is. If I ask you the question again, silk. Say it, silk.
Silk.
S-I-L-K.
Okay.
Say it, silk.
Silk.
What do cows drink?
Water.
I'm so glad I didn't hear that. That's my point. It's just an issue of refocusing, being aware, and staying consistent at that. Because is it a hard job? Yes, it is. But we know that it's possible because these people who are being recognized today, who are on the panel today with George, are a great example of that. And without further delay, let's bring him up here, George.
All right, thank you, John.
You're welcome.
This is us for up there. Okay, great. All right, so let's get these guys and gals up here. So we've got Mr. Doug Carey. Come on up. Give him a round of applause. We've got Joanna Williams. I said Joanna Williams. Woo! Jeremy back. All the way from St. George, Utah. And Lindsay Tripp. All right, guys, have a seat. Good to be with you. Thanks for being here. So, some of you I know really well, some of you not as well as I should. Lindsay, we need to know more about you. So let's start with you. Give us a little history lesson of how many deals did you do last year?
92.
92? How many listings did you take?
I think 86.
Nice. Excellent. And how long? And how long have you been in business? 4 years. 3? All right. 4 in real estate. You got to round it all up. I was really bothered by all those decimal points in there. Who was annoyed by that? Anybody? Except the person who went like one was 14.5 and 14.6. I was thinking that person would be excited to know that they beat the other person by, I don't know what that, a 10. Yeah. All right. Anything else we should know about you? What's your sign?
I'm a Leo.
A Leo. All right. Excellent. Okay. Jeremy, give us a little rundown. How long in the business? How many deals last year?
15 years in the business. I'm in St. George, Utah. I moved there 5 years ago from Davis County. 70-something transactions. I think it was 77.
Okay.
And,
or 80. Just round up.
80. Yeah. It's been really good. What was the other part of it?
What's your sign?
No idea.
Oh. When's your birthday?
January.
January.
I'm a Capricorn.
All right. Perfect. All right. Excellent. Let's go Doug here real quick. Give him the meat of stuff.
Doug Carey in the Centerville office, closed, we'll say 60, it was 59. Closed 3 days later. So should have closed early.
All right. Well, if you would have closed, then you could have, you were 60, you could say you were 70.
Yeah, there you go.
Here.
That's not rounding work. That's it. Leo.
Leo? All right. And how long in the business again?
13 years.
13 years. All right. Excellent. Ms. Williams?
I feel like I'm in a room of merit scholars and I've got a GPA of 3.0.
I had a 2.8. So I know the feeling.
I had a 1.9.
And they let you graduate?
Sure did.
All right.
What do you want to
So,
know?
how long in the business? And then,
11 and a half years.
and then you are in which office?
Forum,
And then how many deals last year for you?
38.
Nice. All right. Excellent. And your sign?
Pisces.
All right. Excellent. Good to make sure. All right. Here we go. All right. So, you have a list of questions. I'm not going to probably ask you any of those. So that's the good news. Just kidding. I probably will. A few of them. But I'm really bad on a script. That's the joke, by the way. All right, so let's start with you, Jeremy. So let me ask you this: what's your main lead source? How do you go about the business? And just kind of give us just a 60-second kind of rundown of how you drive your business, how you do your business. Do you have people on a team? What is your office set up from a standpoint of who you have around you? Just give us a breakdown.
So I have one full-time assistant and a part-time runner.
Okay.
The main part of my business is my database, and most of my business comes from the business I have right now. I've worked really hard on getting my next transaction out of the transaction I'm doing today. In the listing side, the sign calls, working the neighborhoods, just listed, just sold, knocking the doors, introducing the face with the sign is the main part of my business.
Love it. So you're still knocking doors?
On all listings, yeah, 50.
50 doors on every listing, and then how much prospecting on average do you do a day? Like actual either phone or door?
The sad thing is, I was talking to Doug earlier. I went back and read all my numbers when he asked me to come up here.
Okay.
I average 50 contacts a week, but I write really good notes. And I do 2 notes a day, and that's turned into a huge amount of like really low quality handwritten notes.
Okay.
Just throw my business card in there, but it's identifying something that I thought was awesome or special about that other person. And following up with phone calls and communicating directly to my database. And I've been solid at 50 a week, and that's made a big difference.
Love it. It's great. Lindsay, so for you, kind of just describe your business, like what it all looks like.
Sure. So I'm the listing agent on Justin Eugene team. So I handle the bulk of the listing business. Justin takes a few here and there. I do mostly existing residential. Our number one lead source is past clients and referrals. So we really work that really hard as much as we can. We set up a follow-up plan for each client as we close. And then
How often are you competing where there's just at least another agent on the side of where there's someone there that you compete against?
I mean, how often do I win? Ask me that one.
Well, I mean, do you think it's 50% of the time, 100% of the time they've got someone else?
I'm probably competing about 50% of the time.
Okay.
Generally against other teams. I don't compete against singular agents very often.
Okay.
As far as follow-up and things like that, though, I think that that's really the bulk of what we do really well is we follow up with whether that be a web lead or a sign call, like you were saying, or those past clients and referrals, just looking for that referral business.
Love it.
As far as prospecting goes, I kind of laughed when I got asked that too. We really try to, on the team, do at least 2 hours of prospecting a day. If I'm being completely honest, I usually do about an hour.
Okay.
Trying to hit my
Is
long
Justin
notes.
aware of that?
He is. He read my
Oh,
notes
okay.
before I came up here. I'm in trouble.
Just kidding. Okay. Talk about this just for a second. Talk about your listing presentation. Just in general terms. Follow script, have an exact format, wing it, whatever happens, happens.
It totally depends on the day. It depends on who I'm sitting in front of. A lot of the time we use sort of a prepared presentation that Justin has really perfected over the years, and I put my own spin on as well. And it really goes through the people, the marketing, the systems, and what we do that's a little bit different than the average agent in the market.
Okay. So either you'll expand that listing presentation or shrink it down depending on the situation, depending on the needs of the time. Okay. Okay, good. Great. Doug, thank you.
All right, what was the question? So the majority of my business comes from my database. About half of my business comes from there, and then the rest is prospecting, just listed, just sold, expireds, absentees. That's
What's your who's around you? How do you work your team or your
I have a full-time
administration?
assistant, and then I have a part-time runner. That's it.
Okay. What does a typical day look like for you in prospecting?
I'm on the phones at 8 to 8:30, calling the new expires, and then I'm calling new for sale by owners, to the one I like. I pick and choose those. I role play for half an hour, then back from 9 to 12.
So every day you're role playing, some script, some dialogue, some dynamic of the presentation to the calls to the whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
So making 35 to 40 contacts a day.
What's the most important thing you think you do in a day?
Prospecting.
Okay.
Yep.
And in general, how many contacts are you making per day?
Right now I'm at 35 a day. For the
How
year.
often do you hit that?
Well, that's my average for the year.
Okay. Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. Okay. Great.
I'm trying for 40.
All right. Great. Just give us a little rundown of your business. What does that look like?
So basically, a lot like what they're talking about. The majority of my business comes from my SOI, past clients, referrals from past clients or SOI. I spend 2 hours a day, that's my goal, spend 2 hours a day either on the phone or knocking doors. I do a lot of the same thing that Jeremy talked about, knocking around, just listed, just sold. And I call my SOI every day.
Okay. Perfect. Love it. Jump back down here to Jeremy. Jeremy, if you had, just because I know a little of your history, if you had only 3 choices in life regarding technology, what would they be regarding real estate? What would be the 3 things you'd say, man, you got to do these 3?
Avoid technology?
Okay.
No, but I think technology becomes our biggest crutch. So the 3 things would be maintain it, have a database that allows you to have a calendar and that tells you how to respond and that you can set up a follow-up system. And then outside
the system you use?
I use Exact Contact.
Okay.
But anything works, you just have to use it. What Century 21 has, everybody, it doesn't matter, you have to use it. But I think the 2 other things aren't technology-based or driven, it's more of the personal relationships and the personal touches. Because what's happening, and this is longer than 6 seconds, but this is the biggest thing I've noticed, we've talked about this a lot, is that understanding the sales cycle of your buyers and sellers, the average person sells a home every 7 to 9 years. So if you did that as every 8 years, what happens is all technology is built to go after that 8th year or that first year, right? So everybody's fighting over that spot. And what they're missing is if you did a big circle and you did 8 pizza slices. There's 7 other years that you should be in communication with that client, where the average person knows 4 people that are going to buy or sell. We all chase that year 8, and it's a chase when we should be attracting and working the other 7 years. And by the time you get into the 8th year, you're the person of choice. Like she said, she doesn't compete, right? So I imagine these guys are attacking their database in that form. Where if you're the person of choice, whoever the disruptors they're claiming themselves to be in the industry are, they're way behind you. But we get lost in this cycle of we have to have technology, we got to be better than everybody else, and we only focus on that year that they're buying. And that's when we get stuck against Zillow, against every technology, Homey or whoever. They're only after that one slice of pie. But we missed all the other transactions getting to that slice. And so that's my big beef with technology, is it slows us down from working everything else that should be building our business.
Love that. Great answer. Great answer. Lindsay, let me ask you this. What do you think separates you from the competition? What makes you great?
Honestly, it's the team. It's not just me. There's a dozen of us, and I couldn't do it without them. I have a great listing manager that handles all of my listings from the day that I hand her the file after my listing appointment to the day that they list. And then from there, it's just those personal relationships that we build with our clients. So following up with them regularly, making sure that they know what's happening in every step of the process.
Great. Love that. Doug, what's your biggest challenge in the market right now?
My mindset.
So what do you do for that? Besides being on a panel?
Surround myself with great people.
Okay.
That are doing more than me. So whether it's be around more my coach, Mike Ferry, you, Jeremy, just other great people that are doing as much.
So give us a basic day for you of what you would do for your mindset, aside from obviously the people, but let's just assume not all those people are around every single day. Or is it that you make a conscious, precise effort to be with one of those people every single day? But just give us 2 or 3 things that you say, man, every day this happens for me.
Yeah, every day I'm on the phone with an accountability partner at 7:50 as I'm just about to pull up to the office. I'm talking about Brian Burnett in St. George right now. So we talk about what we're going to do for the day and what our plans are. At 9:30 as I'm prospecting, I get on a Google Hangout with another agent in California that is in my mastermind group. We prospect together until I'm done prospecting. And then at 11:45, I have another accountability group I talk to every day. We have monthly goals that we check in on.
So not too easy to not make 35 contacts a day?
Right.
You gotta work at it? Good. That's cool. All right. Best book that you've been reading lately?
I'm listening to
That's fine.
The Platinum Rule, the one that the office is doing right now.
Good.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah.
Great recommendation on how to really attract and work those different personality types.
Yeah, that's great. So it's a good combination with versatile selling and the platinum rule. I think it was Rob who got us involved in that one. That's a great book. All right. So tell us your journey.
Oh no.
Because I know you really well, and I remember our phone call. So you've been doing this 11 and a half years, but Everest has existed for 9 years.
Right.
And so just tell us your journey.
Okay.
And if you don't give us enough of the meat, I'll throw
You'll
it in
fill
for
it
you.
in, right? Okay, good.
Yeah, I just want to hear your journey.
Okay.
Because what you made basically $350,000 last year. I know where you were, and I know where you are. Is it 400? We're
Yes,
rounding
it was
up.
400.
400.
According
You're true.
to GCI.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. I just didn't look close enough. So
You didn't round up.
I rounded down.
I'm an agent, what can I say?
But I love your story.
Okay.
And actually, before you jump in, so just you've been with Everest for how long?
3.5 years.
So first year you made how much with Everest? Do you remember?
Yes, I made $320,000.
Okay. And then the next year you made?
I made 370 the next year, and these are my numbers.
It's fine.
And then 479 last year.
Yeah. So basically, every year you've been adding about 100,000,
Close.
give or take.
Last year for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay, my story starts in.
Share your story.
Okay, so I got my license in 2006 and I joined Realty Executives. That's where I met you, right?
That's right.
Okay, so then in 2009, when the market was really bad, and anyway, we decided to move to my home state of Texas for a couple of years and see if we could make things better there. Our home had been short-sailed. So after a couple of years in Texas, I've still tried to sell real estate on a part-time basis, but we decided to come back. And that's when I came back to Everest. You started Everest by then. But we moved in with my daughter and lived in her basement for about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I just did everything you told me to do. And anyway, here I am now. I have my own home now.
Well, hold on. All right, we got to fill some of this in. Hold on. So I know not most comfortable, but here's what's great. So I remember where I was standing when I got the call, and I remember the question she asked. And the market was crashing. How many of you were in the business 2009? Okay? Great times, right? I remember her asking, saying, do you really think real estate is going to be selling? Like, do you really think deals are going to happen? And the reality is that I said they would, and they were, right? Deals were still happening. And so you did. You went to work, but when you moved back from Texas, you moved in to the basement of your daughter's, that you said, right?
Yeah, my daughter's.
And then you were
house.
there for, 3 years during the,
3 years,
some of the most,
yeah.
as you. But what was fascinating, so then you went through that whole process. So 3 years later, completely, literally completely changed your entire life, right? To where the home you bought, what was the sales price of that home?
Well, at that time it was 270, but it's worth almost 400 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So but you went from basically nothing to, literally every year you seem to add about $40,000 or $50,000 to your income.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think it's important is that sometimes people see people up on this stage or up on the panel and they think, well, wait, they've always been able to do that. And I think that it's important to recognize that that's not true. It's just that there's that moment where you have to go through that refinement process and you refine yourself to become who you are, to where if a market shift occurs, next question, if market shift occurred now, what would happen?
What would happen?
To you, personally, not to anybody else.
I'd keep working. I'd keep working the system.
Does it scare you if the market changes?
No, it's always changing. The market's always changing. Dynamics are changing. Technology is changing. I'm changing as a person. That's the whole reason that I'm here, is because I've grown so much as an individual, and I want to continue to become an even better person, a bigger person. I want to continue to grow, to think bigger, to act bigger.
Love it. Love it. Jeremy, what advice would you give to an agent who is just starting out or is struggling or is wondering from the market to the shifts to the rates going up to inventory issues like John was talking about? Where would they focus? What do they do? What advice would you give to any agent?
Well, I think John's message was so important that he gave today. It's been top of mind for me also, because there's the law of abundance and there's the law of scarcity. And whichever field you play in will determine your outcome based on what the market is. So if you're always playing in the law of abundance, it doesn't matter what anything else around you is doing, you're growing and you'll accomplish whatever's available to you. And you'll always feel that there's stuff for you. And as a new agent, if I was to get in the market today and start over, there's this man named Peter who's a close mentor to me, who has worked with a lot of new agents, and he's out of New Mexico. And it's funny because so many of the agents that get in, they get in because it's easy, which I did. But once you get your license, now what? And what you have to understand is starts with service and providing value. We get paid based off of value. The result is a sell, but it's our value we give will determine how much we make. The more value you give, the more you make. And if you understand that simple concept of everything you do in your business is based on providing exceptional value, you will always have business. And it took me a long time. He gave me a book called The Go-Giver. I don't know if anyone's read that. I would go buy 10 of those. I give those out now like candy. That book is so incredible, such an easy read, and it brings you to, it kind of it emphasizes the law of abundance. And that's the biggest thing, is if you can get your mindset into law of abundance starting, and then build a base database, get to 100 names, and then start bringing what can I do today to bring value to that database. That database will produce the results.
Love it. Lindsay, what does your morning routine look like? You have kids?
Nope.
Okay. What does your morning routine look like?
Dogs.
Dogs? That counts?
No, I am married. I have 2 dogs. My husband travels for work, so he's only home about 8 days a month.
Okay.
So it's just me in the mornings most of the time. So I get up, drink a glass of water, try and, again, mindset, super important thing. So on the way to work, I'm always listening to Audible or a podcast, something like that. And then we have our team morning meeting every day, 8:30 to 9. Do some role play, make sure we're working through any rocks that we're coming up with, and then get on the phones.
Love it. Okay. What advice would you give to an agent?
Stay consistent, stay organized, and then Justin-isms. If you're not on the phone, you're not working. And we kind of stick with the PLAN acronym, the prospecting, lead follow-up, attending appointments, negotiating deals. Those are your highest and best uses as an agent.
Love it. It's great. Doug, what advice would you give?
All that. And consistency. Consistency, I think, is my biggest strength. Where get in the office every single day, treat this like a job, like there was somebody there watching you, and that you'd be fired if you didn't show up. Get there and do the same thing. Prospect. Call the same sources. Do it in order. I think the biggest thing that I've been able to create is just a system. I think that's my greatest thing that separates me from other people, is just a system that I've created to give amazing customer service. And so it's consistency in everything we do.
Love that. It's great. All right, Ms. Williams, what would you tell them?
All the same stuff. Come to the meetings. I mean, in addition to everything that they're talking about, one thing that I do is I go to Morning Ascent. And I go there because it forces me, so to speak, to write down my gratitudes, to write down my goals, and to say my affirmations. And in addition to that, I mean, those are 3 really important things, but in addition to that, I learn from the other agents that are there. I love coming and being involved in, and even participating when asked. I mean, this was a really scary thing for me to do because I knew I'd be up here against the heavy hitters, but I learned from these guys. I learned from all of you, and I think that that's really important. Come to the meetings and participate as much as you can. Be involved.
That's great. So, Doug, how would you tell someone if they, look, there's 3 ways to get business, right? We can wait for it, we can go buy it, or we can go get it. So if someone wanted to go get business, what would you tell them they need to be doing from the standpoint of elevating their skill sets? Because what happens is you can take, look, we all know this, we can take the same group of leads, and whether it be listing leads, buyer leads, whatever the leads are, and you'll get one agent who will say, oh, these are horrible leads. And then you'll get the other agent who goes, they're great. I set 3 appointments, and man, this is awesome. What would you share with someone to elevate and to change the way they approach their business with their skill sets?
One, you've got to role play. Role play with somebody in the office, role play with somebody on the phone. How are we going to do it? Take just listed, just sold. This is, that everybody can do this, right? Go door knock around yours or somebody else's listing or sale. And I think you can get as much or greater business or conversion rate out of that than buying web leads. And it's a lot cheaper. I mean, that's the best profitability right there. It's just your time. But role play and then go out and do it all the time. Practice on other people. Practice on the prospects.
Love it.
And then it's the mindset. I mean, I'll often look back when I get frustrated with a source of business. I'll have to go back in past years and say, I got these people from that, I got these people, that was a great transaction, I got this, that was great. And that helps me realize, okay, get back, this is great business.
Love that. It's good. You know, last year, I think it was, you made a little over $100,000 with about 2 years ago making a decision that you would add additional.
1, 2. Really? This is quiet, huh? Test.
Wow. There we go. It's working. Yes, it is working.
Not so well.
So talk. Hey, you had about you had a group of people that you started adding to your sphere in a different category where you'd either meet them and it was a very casual meeting and there wasn't a great long-term relationship, but you just continued to add. And I think if we talked about this, I remember the encouragement you gave is to add 1 or 2 of those people a day in your prospecting, and that group is added up to a certain amount of people, which you can tell us. And then last year, that group of people 2 years later earned you. So share that with us.
Sure. I started calling about 3 years ago. I started calling absentee owners, and I started adding. My coach said, I got a Mike Ferry coach, a fabulous coach that said, if somebody's looking to buy or sell, mostly sell, in the next 2 years, add them to your database. Now I've got a script that I go through to add them. But most importantly, I just put them in my database just like I did a past client. And I would call them every quarter just like a past client. I would email them to them. I would mail to them. And I kept in touch and I added value every time I called. And last year, that was $102,000 I earned from that group.
Love that. Great. That's great. Jeremy, let me ask you this. Where do you think the market's going? Where do you think real estate's going? What do you think is happening?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of movement in real estate, but as agents itself, there's going to be plenty of transactions and flow. So, I mean, maybe more with investors and stuff, there'll be opportunities to buy in between those. But to be honest with you right now, I haven't been focused at all other than just letting clients know, here's where we're at, here's where appreciation levels are, and I do a lot of real estate reviews.
So what would you tell a buyer who says, oh man, I think we're at the top of the market, I don't know if I should buy now?
Well, I'd ask them questions instead of telling them. I'd say, well, tell me about that. What do you mean we're at the top of the market? What have you heard?
I'll role play, yeah. I just heard we're at the top of the market, like we're at a bubble. Oh, and if the market crashes, I mean, I don't want to buy too high.
Well, I can understand that. You don't want to lose money in case you bought that point. So tell me, what were you thinking about buying or doing anyways?
Just our home, right? The home for our family.
Something that you could live in.
Right.
So if you could wave a magic wand, what would that look like?
4 bedrooms, 2 baths, 4,000 square feet.
Well, that sounds incredible. And why would you want to do that?
Because that's where I'd like to raise my family.
Oh, so it would be an opportunity to raise your family. So when you're raising your family, do you think the market necessarily will affect you that much if you keep that home for a little bit longer to raise that family?
Probably not. But what if it does go down? I just want to buy a good investment.
Right, no, that's fair. And I understand that. But the beautiful thing is that as real estate comes up and down, as long as you don't sell, you don't lose anything. But I'd love to learn more about what you're trying to do with your family. I try to keep everything focused on in the moment because the truth is there's pleasure and pain. We're running to pleasure and away from pain, and we make our decisions based off of that. And 9 times out of 10, they don't make their decision based off of that market in that moment. They just want to have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Often I've just talked about the steady rate, right? The steady increase. I might share of the last 100 years is an increase. How long do you plan on living in the home? They'll usually say, well, gosh, for at least the next decade, then it doesn't really matter.
Right.
We've already recovered from 2005 prices, so does that matter? What about the taxable benefits, right? Huge on your part.
Well, and a lot of times they're just saying that because it was a headline and they don't know anything else.
Correct.
But when you get down, I love asking the question, if you were to wave a magic wand, what would it look like? Because it allows them to let go and actually come up with an idea and a plan. And a lot of times while they're saying it, they start smiling and get excited. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, now I know, let's get them what they actually want. And it has nothing to do with the market.
Do any of you legitimately worry about the rates, the market? Do you know what interest rates are?
4.5.
Okay. Does anybody know precisely what they are?
I get an email in the morning, but
no, that's what I'm saying. But it's not okay. Good. All right. Let's open it up to a few questions out here. So, what questions do you have from this great group? And thank you guys for being here too.
George.
Or Heather.
Okay, so I know that Doug and Mike Ferry do any of, everyone else have coaching and what type, or do with you?
I coach with George or John whenever I can, but I pay to coach with Brian Buffini.
But fair, hold on, actually, fair to say you've done a lot of coaching also with Mike Ferry, right?
Yeah, originally started.
In general, I would like to hear, in general, you believe in coaching.
Absolutely.
Huge proponent, that's a huge thing, I mean, that's a major deal of your life.
It's huge because not only are you learning a lot about, you know, what to say and how to do your business, but it's a huge mindset. It's like Doug said, you know, your coach keeps you on track with your
Consistent,
mind.
right? Yeah, good.
Yeah, Mike Ferry. I've always been with Mike Ferry.
Okay.
The team subscribes to Real Estate B School for most of our coaching. We do a couple of different things a week, and then I would say Justin, I suppose.
Right, sure.
I'm a coach junkie. I pay for everything. I just like seeing it, but I oftentimes fall back on Mike Ferry because it brings consistency and accountability. And a lot of the other systems, I don't get the accountability. But there is one company I absolutely love, and it's really opened my business, and it's the extreme opposite of Mike Ferry, but between the two, it has brought some balance to me that I've never had before. And that's that little ninja group in Colorado. And they brought some amazing little tools and techniques that I would never have gotten anywhere else.
Yeah, that's a fun book, Ninja Selling. Yeah. Yeah, those guys are great. Okay, what else? I saw a few other hands out here. I know I saw like 4 hands. Now where are the hands? Jennifer.
This is a question for each of you. What is your goal with your business that you would be like you've arrived? Like it makes you so nervous your palms sweat.
So let me just say what she said. She said, what's your biggest goal, or what's the goal that just makes your, you know, your palms sweat? What are you charging after? What are you going after?
So my big vision is, right now, my income is 75% commission and 25% investment. And in the next 5 years, I want that to go 50-50 and eventually go the other direction. And that's what gets me excited, is getting the investment and the passive income in line so I can live the lifestyle I want to live. And it's taking a while, but right now it's 75-25, and I want to get to that 50-50 balance pretty quick here.
My goal with the team is to be really more in the sales management role here in the next couple of years and really manage our team and take them to the next level. Our goal within the next 5 years is to help 1,000 families a year and be in a couple of different locations. I want to be an integral part of that process.
That's great.
My goal is to get to a point where I'm selling 150 homes a year, 150 transactions in the mid and upper end market, and have a lean and mean staff, very profitable. So then I can start getting more into the investments as well, more so than what I am now.
By when?
Well, consistently.
Yeah, but by when will you have 150 deals?
150, 5 years.
Okay. Okay.
Great goals. My goal ultimately, I know it's going to sound silly, but it's $1 million in GCI in 10 years or sooner, hopefully.
Per year or total of $1 million?
No, $1 million in 1 year.
Gotcha. Why is that silly? Do you think that's silly?
No.
It's a little more than a lot of people are doing in here.
But
just
if
so that.
I hit that, when I do that, I will be able to have investment properties that will fund my retirement. Because I'm a lot closer to retirement than any of y'all are. So.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. What else? Another question. Back there, the very back. I can't see who that is.
You guys said that you align your business to SOI. So, how often do you contact your SOI? Meaning each individual person? Do you contact them monthly, quarterly, and how do you do it?
So my CRM has a feature that tells me when I need to call, but basically I'm calling them every 3 months, quarterly.
What CRM are you using?
It's Buffini's Referral Maker CRM.
Okay. So hold on. So you're emailing how often?
Emailing probably once a quarter.
Okay. Mailing how often?
Every month.
And then a phone call after.
every three months.
And how many client appreciations?
4. And
Per
that's
year.
huge. 4 a year.
And what are you doing on social media?
Everything I can.
Okay, so you're doing some things on social
Yeah.
media so that they don't say, now are you still in real estate when you go to the holiday party?
Right.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Okay. Guys, I just would echo, I asked those 4 or 5 questions so quick to any agent and know whether or not you're on track. So good job, by the way, which is evident by the amount of money that you're earning and the amount of business coming from your sphere. So same thing for you. So mailing,
Mailing quarterly,
email.
email twice a month, video, doing video.
Oh, you're doing it. Okay,
Yeah.
great. I love it. Then the call.
Call quarterly or more.
Okay.
Some people in my database are calling more.
Okay. Client appreciation.
Just starting.
Okay.
June 2nd, it's the first one.
All right. What are you doing?
A movie.
Okay. Perfect. And then anything on social media?
A bit. Not crazy. A lot of my videos get posted on there.
All right. Good deal. All right. Excellent.
Like literally almost the exact same thing. So quarterly calls, we do our quarterly newsletter, we email twice a month with videos, and then I try and be as active as I can on social media, but I try and make it just real organic.
Sure,
Getting
sure.
having conversations, not just posting an article here and there.
Okay. Love it. And then are you personally making calls, Lindsay, to Sphere?
Yeah.
Okay.
Once a quarter.
Okay. Perfect.
So mine's broken down a little different. So I have A pluses and I have 35 people in there. I mail to them twice a month. I call them every month. I do a presentation on their value of their real estate every 6 months. And I also write a personal notes at least once or twice a year.
On the A pluses, what would constitute an A plus?
They're my walking billboards. They send me more than one referral. In fact, I'm averaging almost 3 referrals a year from my A pluses.
Love it.
The A's, I mail to twice a month. I call them quarterly, if not more, and I try to get personal notes or see what's going on. I don't use social media very well at all. I stalk a little bit to see if anything's going that's exciting, and then I try to respond to that with something of value to them. But I'm horrible at that stuff. But the key, I think, is the mailing pieces. I don't mail anything that it has value, like it's coupons or something really cool that we send out to them, or something that they get some excited about that they'll respond to. There's a company here that has some like video postcard that I can't get in my market, and I've offered to pay for the whole market just to get them in. Is that Boomerang Direct Marketing, where they do the get a burrito free and all that. The guys that use that, they get called constantly from their database, and it's 82 cents a person. So there's so many tools in this market you can take advantage of that would cost you $1, and all of a sudden you're in front of them with value. Now you're calling them with purpose, and they're calling you.
Love it. It's great. Great question. Any thoughts? Any more thoughts on that? Let's go one more question. This side. Come on. Bring it. Laura.
What's your favorite part about business?
I really love the personal interaction. I want to get to really know as many people as I can. And I love the follow-up and getting to see their kids grow up and how they're changing and what they're doing. And I want to be part of their lives, not just some person they use one time for his business.
That's great. What don't you like?
I feel like if you ask my husband,
Besides
I get the
panels.
right answer. This makes me nervous, honestly. No, it's tough for me to set boundaries for like phone calls and text messages when I'm turned off.
Gotcha.
So I try to do it by like 8 o'clock at night, and I am notoriously terrible for that. So it's hard to set that boundary for me.
Gotcha. So you have the same problems like everyone else then.
Right.
You're human.
It turns out I'm just a small adjustment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, for a long time, I hated the business, and I was frustrated. And then I realized I was working with all the wrong people. I had to identify, and someone pointed this out to me, I had to identify what my ideal customer looked like, and visualize what my business looks like and where I would be in a year, and then act as that person, and work with those type of people. And that changed everything. Now I love the interaction, the connections, the relationship part of it, where I was always looking for an excuse to get out of it just 6-7 years ago. Where now it's just shifted my mindset completely, because now I have that ideal, that vision of what it looks like.
I love growing the business. I love growing something, building something. That's a lot of fun for me. So being able to see it, start out so small and grow. I love developing my database, and seeing the results come from that and my skills. So,
What would you say your personality type is if you took the four? Expressive, and amiable, analytical, or driver?
amiable.
Okay. Lindsay, what would you say you are?
Analytical.
Analytical? Pretty analytical. Yes, you are. But we like that.
I'm
Okay?
trying to be analytical because there's so much good that comes from that, building the system.
Yeah. And what about you? What do you think you are?
Amiable.
Okay. So what do you love about the business?
Oh, I love this business. I love everything about it. I mean, obviously, it can be wearing and sometimes nonstop, and sometimes there's, you know, an occasional client who's tough to work with. But I love everything about it. I love the interaction with people, building those relationships. I love the fact that we do something valuable. Every one of us here is not just selling some rinky-dink little gadget or toy or whatever. We are selling not only a place for a family to live, but a dream, you know. We're building the economy, and I'm not knowledgeable enough to put it into words, but it grows. It's something. It's something that you can really contribute. You feel like you're really doing something to change the world.
Love that. I love that. Okay, good. Well, let me ask you this last question, and then we'll wrap it up here. And I just want to say a few words, but just why Everest? Why are you here? You guys could go to a lot of other organizations, right?
I already kind of told you. I mean, I think it's personal development more than anything else, but, you know, I've been with the company so long now that you know me, John knows me, everybody that I've worked with, all my brokers. Matt's a bulldog, he's a fighter, I love that. I've worked with Nick as a broker, he's amazing. The leadership here is incredible, and you guys know me, I need what you're offering, that's why I'm here.
Okay.
I'm a personal development junkie, so I love the culture here. Becoming better, I love to surround myself with people that, you know, I look up to. And I haven't had that in other places. And when you guys moved to Centerville, I came over right away.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Justin Udy.
That's a good reason.
Honest answer. And beyond that, just the support and the enthusiasm of the whole brokerage.
I think there's two things for me. The first is seeing all the different people succeed in so many different ways. And seeing how you could be a huge team succeed, you could be individuals like us succeed. But is the consistency, you see it in the company, and it attracts you. The second thing is Darren Hardy, I think the Old Success Magazine editor, he said that the top CEOs and the top people that grow, they invest 10% back into themselves. And I think this is a big piece of my investment back into myself, is to be a part of things and be around you guys and everybody else that you can grow from.
Well, thank you. Well, guys, we want to thank you for being up here. You guys are truly icons in the industry, and we're grateful for the time that you spend with us and being so open about it and sharing your world and what you each and every day deal with. So, thank you. That's great. Thank you, guys. We're just going to take like 5 minutes. I just want to share something with you just real quick. Can we throw up that first slide? And were you able to get that video, or yay or no? No? Oh, good. Okay, no video. So that's the good news. No, I threw it out at them in the middle of the event. So, so this picture really caught my attention. And the reason it did is, one, what's so funny about it is that John sat here or stood here and talked to you and spoke to you about focus. I leaned over to Jennifer and I said, that's so crazy. That is my topic, is focus. And I thought, you know, how interesting it is that every single day, like you said, John, we have choices as to what we're going to focus on. But my attention on focus was a little bit different, and that is this. How many of you are familiar with the Pareto principle? What is it? What is it, Aaron? 80-20 what? Right, so I'm going to repeat that. So 80% of your success or the profitability, the productivity of your life comes from the top 20% activities. So if you're just taking a basic checklist, put 10 things on it. The top 2 you produce on and you execute upon will produce 80% of the results that you want to have out in your life. So just consider this thought. What are you focusing upon? And are you focusing upon too many things? Because the problem is, just like the lion tamer who goes into the ring, think about this, the lion tamer who goes into the ring with the lion, has his firearm on the side, has his whip in one hand, and he has the chair or the stool in the other hand. And he shoves that into the face of the lion as the lion roars, and the lion sits on its stool, crazily not attacking the guy who is sitting in the ring with him. Why? Because there's too many things to focus upon. Because every one of the legs of the chair, every one of the legs of the stool, whatever he has in his hand, the reality is there's too much to focus on and he becomes paralyzed. So we need to make sure on an individual basis that we're taking a step back and saying, okay, man, how many things can I focus on? And how many things can I do? If you listen to Warren Buffett in a little biography that was done not too long ago, he was asked this, and this is what's interesting. He was asked this: what's the one thing that has brought you the most success? What do you think the answer was? Those of you who haven't watched that. No one? My gosh, it's outstanding. If you haven't watched, it's just an hour. He says, one word: focus. Bill Gates, in the same level, same situation, same documentary, or the same people doing the documentary, is asked the same question. What's the one thing that has created the most success for you? Guess what he answered with? Focus. Fascinating to consider the fact that those who have succeeded at the highest levels economically have played the game of focus. Who's the richest man in the world today? Who? Which is? Amazon guy, the guy who created Amazon. Does anybody know how many years he lost money? I thought it was 7, but 10 sounds even better. And we're talking nearly a decade, if not a whole decade, of loss, continual financial loss. Some of you go a month, and you're like, all right, I'm done with this thing. A week goes by with no clothes, and you're like, maybe I should get a real job. I want you to think about what you say to yourself. Think about what you're doing every day. Think about the impact that you can have if you just stayed focused. For a long time, for many years, I've had lots of conversations with a lot of people about this idea of how to stay focused. One of the ones that I talked about it in I can't remember if it was on a coaching call, an interview, or a daily message, because I've done 3 of those today. But in one of those sessions, I talked about my conversations with a handful of different agents, from Justin Udy to Jessica Terry, and the one that I described was the one with Jessica. And she was asking the question, so many words, okay, what am I going to do? Is this where I'm going to work? Is this the business I'm going to do? How am I going to build my team? And all I remember from the conversation isn't necessarily anything specific except one thing. And all I said to her is this: I promise you, if you'll just stay the course, great things will happen. And my point to that is that so often we will so quickly veer off course. But one of the things you heard today was this power of consistency. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about Jeremy and he's talking about his sphere. It doesn't matter if we're talking about Doug and the way in which he prospected. The power of consistency. See, many of you go, I know how to do this business. Well, yeah. We all know what we're supposed to do. The great question is will we execute with consistency? Will we allow ourselves to stay the course? So a lot of years ago, it would have been nearly 10 years ago, because it was early, it was nearly 10, because it was still, Everest had been created, the company. Our office, we existed. And I remember going on a hike. And I went on a hike with a couple of guys, and I didn't realize who I was with. But I was with a few guys that were worth millions. And there was just 3 of us, because a buddy asked me to go with him. And as we went on the hike, we started to hike up, and I started to ask a lot of questions, realizing I was way out of my realm in regards to the economics of who I was with. I could walk down the street, and I could look at anybody who, the guy sitting on the curb asking for 50 cents for a drink had more net worth than I did back then. And that's a fact. And I remember that at that time I was walking and we had just created Everest, and as we were hiking and going up this trail, I started asking questions. I said, hey, so what do you do? He said, well, I have a little fleet company, insurance company thing that I've done. And I go, well, what's that all about? And he said, well, it's this company that insures vehicles and big fleets of cars and different things like that. And I said, oh, okay, great. And I said, well, you still own it? He goes, no, I just sold it. I said, wow, really? And I said, well, how did that all happen? Like, what did you, I don't mind, you don't have to tell me, but like, what did you sell your company for? And he said, no, I'll tell you the whole story. And he said, well, this is what happened. He goes, my brother and myself, we started this little company, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And as it grew, he goes, what's crazy is for 10 straight years, we built a company, and we never paid ourselves more than $60,000 a year. Ever. I said, ever? Ever. And he said, on the very day of 10 years into the business, on the day, because he kept reiterating, the day, he said we sold it for $100 million. He goes, I went from $60,000 to $100 million overnight. And my brother and I were the only two owners, and we divided the income, divided the money right in half. And I went, wow. So I kept asking questions, and I said, so how did that all unfold? He said, you know what? Every day something came at me that said, go do this, or hey, this bright and shiny object just showed up, and I could go do that, and I could go do this, and I could go do that. Think about this. I could go to just listed, just sold. Then we go to just listed, just sold to internet. Internet leads to listings. Listings, are for sale by owners to expires. Expires back to just listed. To then it's only our sphere. And we bounce and we bounce and we bounce and we bounce. And then we get real crazy and we bounce into the industry. Well, maybe mortgages for me. Well, I should get in the title business. How about real estate? And we'll go full circle. Bounce, 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 bounce. And you may say, well, was that a problem? It is if you want to assemble great wealth. If you just want to have a good time, do it. That's great. Bounce all over. But if you want to assemble tremendous amounts of wealth, you have to stay a course. And it is the only way that you will build it. Period. If you own a piece of real estate, it's the length of time that you own it because you stayed the course with the piece of real estate. It is that simple, just even looking at real estate. Or it's staying the course with this business and the way in which you can manufacture income. So in that story, this guy's name is Jeff. He just lives like, 5-10 blocks from us. And as I sat with him, I said, well, tell me more about this whole 10-year thing. And he said, well, I'll tell you what. If anyone comes to me now today and asks me to invest money into a project, invest money into something really cool, go do something really awesome, and man, we're going to make tons of money on this deal. It's going to happen in 2 or 3 years. He goes, my brain literally shuts off, and he goes, I'm done. I go, what do you mean you're done? He said, because I'm done because you can't assemble great wealth in a 2 or 3 year period of time. It just simply doesn't happen. He said, if I see them and they don't have a plan between 7 to 10 years, I have no interest in what they have to offer me. I will not be in business with them. The only thing I'm trying to relate this to, and the metaphor I hope that I'm trying to give you, is that, look, some of you are looking all over the place for a magic answer. The power of focus and what can happen when you choose to focus on just 1 or 2 things, or maybe 2 or 3 things maximum, that produce the greatest amount of results, you can have what this business can offer. But it will never happen if you're always bouncing around, doing different things, thinking there's a better thing, a better way, a better idea, and you get off course of your primary business. The reason Warren Buffett is a multi-billionaire is because he stayed the course. It is the same as Bill Gates. It is the same as Steve Jobs. One of the great statements of Steve Jobs was this. He was asked, what was your success? How did you create so much success? He said these words, I'm not as proud about what we have done as I am as proud of what I said no to. What has made Apple Apple is the many times they said no. So when you show up to prospect tomorrow morning and your buddy says, do you want to go to breakfast? The answer should be no. I'm prospecting, not, yeah, where are we going? Okay? The horrible joke that says, what's the first thing the agent does when they get to the office? Where do you want to go to lunch? Okay? Gang, I just would challenge you There is nothing about this business you cannot learn, and there's nothing about it that you can't do. There will be moments of discouragement, moments of doubt, but when you are unsure and you don't know what direction to go, keep going forward. And I can promise you that enlightenment will occur, answers will come, because you took a step forward going forward. Not backwards, not sideways, not a U-turn, not giving up, but you stayed a steady course to your goals and your dreams. I would challenge you to stop making light of those that chase their dreams. I would challenge you to cheer on those that are passionate and excited about the successes they see ahead. I would challenge you to not be one of the ones who will discount motivation, passion, and the fulfillment that comes because every day you're on a quest to become more. I would challenge you to make sure that you recognize that every day you're faced with choices as to what you're going to focus upon, and it is your choice, no one else's. Every one of you has stewardships and responsibilities I get outside of this business. From being a mother to being a father to being a great business person. Maybe it's something for you religiously, maybe it's civically, politically, whatever it may be. I can promise you this, that if you refine your ability to sell real estate, if you become extraordinary at communicating, if you don't try to cheat the system, to try to make a quick buck, an easy dollar, if you will become what you need to become, every single area of your life will get better. Every one of them. And you may say, well, life is pretty good now. No, it will get better because of the refinement that will be required as to who you have to become in the process. I'll close with this simple statement. It's Jim Rohn's, and I love it. He was asked, right, by his mentor, Earl Schoaf, and he was asked this question: why don't you go make $1 million? And Jim Rohn said, well, I don't need $1 million. It's not about the $1 million. It's who you have to become to earn $1 million. That's the great benefit. That's the benefit of the organization. My hope is that you get far greater riches in your life beyond the dollars that you will earn. You will earn a lot of money if you stay the course, but the greater joy will be who you become and the impact of the lives of the people that you have a stewardship for, the associations you have, the friendships that you create, and the person that you become will be the greatest treasure. And that will be part of your legacy as you carry it forward. Yes, money will be part of a legacy, but that's only a small part. If you go out and make a significant difference because of who you've become beyond the money, that will be one of your greatest treasures and the true wealth that this life can bring. Great to be with you. Let's have a great month. Thank you for being here. Finish strong. Here we go. Okay.